everyone, today's topic is going to be what messages from Spirit and the Angels is there for empaths and highly intuitive people.
Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're doing good. If you know how to pick a pile, go ahead and do the timestamps below and do your thing. If you don't, then I'll give you a quick explanation right now. So I like to tell people to start with 4 deep breaths. I find it grounds you, it helps the reading resonate with you more, and yeah, it's just good to be grounded and yeah. Okay, so what you're gonna do is picture breathing in air from above your head, and you're gonna breathe it down through your nose until it goes to your core, and then you're gonna release it out your mouth, but try to make it smooth, not just super forceful both ways. So that's usually why I tell people to do it 4 times, just to get enough air circulating properly that your body relaxes a little bit. Yeah, and then from there you're just gonna look at all the piles, and you can pick them based off the crystal if you like them, if you like something about that card deck. Really, you can't go wrong here. If you just for some reason like that one and it looks the same as the others, that's totally okay. Yeah, okay, so the other thing some people do is they'll look at the timestamps for each pile, and then maybe they like the number associated with one, and then just go with that one. All right, so I'm gonna give you time now to take your 4 deep breaths, and I'll see you in your reading.
Hello, pile 1. Okay, we're gonna get right into it. If you're wondering what this crystal is, it is trollite. It's a very pretty one. Okay, pile 1, the thing that I first saw, the very first card, right here, it says you are an empath. So if you've been doubting it, because I think a lot of people do, they just think they're like anyone else. They don't realize that not everyone feels all those things that they feel off of people. And I do want to suggest, if you're open to using crystals, maybe considering getting rainbow aurora quartz. I saw it. This is like a cluster of it right here. But funny enough, I also have a piece right here as well myself. And it actually really helps bring in energy flow through your whole body and clears emotional blockages and any energies that are preventing you from moving forward. It also helps gently release negative emotions and allows you to kind of move on to the next more positive cycle of your life. And I think just from quickly looking over these cards, I think you guys are wanting that. I do see this need to ground yourself and reconnect yourself with the universal energies as well as Mother Earth. I think it's going to help you guys not be so tired, is kind of what I'm thinking. I think a lot of things that do happen with empaths is because we're never really taught how to protect our energy in a safe, effective way. Usually we put up these other forms of barriers. It can be weight. It can be, I guess it's maybe harder to see, but on an energetic level, there's sometimes where you'll try to read someone and they'll literally be like a cement wall that you see when you tune in on an energetic level. So it's just like all these different barriers to keep people from essentially draining them anymore or hurting them anymore. But the only problem with that is that it cuts you off from like the source energy, the divine energy, spirit, whatever you like to use, from connecting and re-energizing us, and from Mother Earth, from grounding us and keeping us centered and clear. uh, if you guys have ever heard of those meditations where you're breathing in light from above your head, sometimes they'll have you picture like a beam of light coming down from the heavens or the sky above you, down all the way to the earth. And now picture yourself center of that light beam and breathe in the light, and then release what you don't need to be transmuted by Mother Earth. I think that kind of meditation would be very good for you guys, because it would remind you to take energy from the above. That doesn't drain anyone to take that energy. We all have a right to it. And then releasing our blocks, our things that we're hanging on to that we don't need anymore, to Mother Earth. And I always add in the words to transmute them, because otherwise I find sometimes people will do this and they'll just release things, but then they'll leave it all in their environment because they're not intentionally giving it to be cleared to a natural force that knows how to clear them. So that's why I say those words. So yeah, that's definitely a pretty big message right from these first 3 cards that I'm getting. That's something you could really need. The other thing here, so I did kind of, one of the messages I'm getting from this orphan card is snakes are actually the symbol of protection. And I just keep thinking about like our internal inner child. And I think it's just kind of saying that you might need to consider kind of holding more space for the inner child. And I do think there is, from this one I'm getting specifically for you guys, is that there might be a bit of a block in receiving things that came from your inner child wounding. I don't have too much more information around that. It's just kind of like a little thing they want me to say or mention. It's totally normal. So I feel like I should say that. It's totally normal. It's pretty common. I see that a lot, that receiving seems to be a pretty big block for most of us. Specifically thinking we're worthy of love and accepting that. I believe it's just from all the things we said as a society to people in the last several generations, where they always would say pretty harsh things as just like the norm. And I think that kind of really stuck with a lot of our inner childs. If you've ever heard of earthing, though, you don't have to do this crazy pose. It's actually just saying, like, if you can go outside and put your bare skin as on as much of the ground as you can, that is going to help you. It's just going to help you reconnect with Mother Earth. And as I was kind of saying before, she is really known for helping us remove our blocks. There is also a theory on the physical level that when we touch the earth more with our bare skin, and I mean not concrete or any of the like man-made materials, I'm talking like dirt, grass, uh, trees, you name it, that kind of like natural material, it helps bring down inflammation over time in our bodies. It doesn't mean you can just touch it for 5 seconds and it's done, but they have found in some studies that over time, if someone did it regularly, say for an hour a day, I know some people said, this also depends where you live, of course, where they were able to just like sit in their bathing suits on the grass every day for an hour, and they noticed that there was less inflammation. Some people do it naked. I mean, if you are able to, comfortable, and not in an area where that will be inappropriate, that would be even better. But if you live in the city, I understand that that's not really gonna fly. Do you feel like circles are like pretty important to you guys. Could just mean cycles. You could feel stuck in this cycle. I also think it does mean you guys should energy shield. I made this really corny energy shielding animation video. There are other ways to shield your energy, but that is the most easy one. For you guys, I would recommend doing it in purple, or it depends on the situation. Some people don't like it, but I always picture like white light with flakes of every color in it. I used to do that when I was in situations that were too overwhelming, like when I worked in the restaurant industry and there was like drug people, highly emotional people around me. When you go to a hospital, I would use that colored shield. They do say that sometimes it can make empaths feel like they're not connected because they're so used to feeling everyone's emotions all the time. But that being said, if you're at a state where you're so tired you can't handle that, I would maybe recommend that white colored energy shield with like the rainbow shimmers in it. If not purple, it will just keep people's, like, you might feel people's energies, but they're not going to stick to you anymore. Like currently you feel drained and exhausted because you feel their emotions and they're staying with you. And that's just totally normal. It's just what happens when societies don't teach people how to energy shield. So there's definitely a pretty big call for that. Yeah, so if you want, you can just Google how to energy shield, or you can watch my really corny animation that I made. I tried to make it fun for people so they'd watch it, but I obviously have no animation skills whatsoever. So that if you watch it, that's why it seems pretty random. Okay, the other things here. Ooh, I do want to read this question. It says, how can you be more intentional with your choices and live with more purpose? I think that sounds like a pretty good reflective question. Honestly, I find with empaths and intuitive people, there's just lots of needs to feel our emotions and acknowledge them and give them space to be felt and then release them. And then in that process, I think it also helps us decide or see which emotions are ours and which are someone else's. And I feel like it could be a bit of a call to try to do that. I know not all of us feel like we have time every day to just sit there and figure that out. But I think if you were able to commit to that like once a week even, you'd start to realize what it wasn't your emotions that were affecting you, and it would be much quicker at letting them go. And then I would just physically say, if you realize emotion was never yours, to just be like, you're not mine, I release you, thank you. And then it's crazy, it seems too easy, but usually if you're aware of that, you just feel so different after you've said a statement like that. I realize that a lot with card reading. I feel emotions, and if they're emotions that I'm quite used to feeling, then often I think they're just mine. And then when I step away, I'll always like think sometimes about that. And then I'm like, oh, no, it's probably just mine. And then I finally do that step and I say, you're not mine. I release you. And I just feel so much better. And I'm like, wow, yuck. Why don't I take my own advice more often? It's just hard to keep yourself accountable sometimes because they just feel so much like our own emotion. It says it may take a while to find clarity about the situation. Be patient. Know that invisible healing forces are at work during this phase. Make peace with uncertainty and focus on gratitude. So these are meaning you guys are trying to bring something in, change the situation. Could mean you're trying to change like a relationship dynamic, a job, change something about a family relationship, friendship, or really anything like that. And whenever I see that, I also think it could be financial, because those ones are the ones where we get the most blocks from ourselves coming up about worthiness and deserving, and if money's like good or bad. I feel like there's a lot of limiting beliefs around that. We don't seem to associate rich people with nice people. And I think on some deeper levels, that affects us more than we realize about receiving financial abundance. So, that being said, with the manifestation thing, this could explain why I kept seeing all these moons. So, the easiest way to work on manifestation with like the planetary energy is by doing new moon and full moon ceremonies. If ceremonies scare you a bit, actually, it's just great because it's basically self care and a reconnection with yourself for one evening. It doesn't even have to be that long, it could be like an hour, 2 hours. You can really make it as long as you want. What that would look like is I always suggest taking Epsom salt baths because it clears the slate, clears the energy. And in traditional forms, they used to take like baths to cast like spells and create rituals and protections. And I just think it kind of taps into that ancient kind of wisdom and way of doing things, which I always find gives things more power. So Epsom salt is for clearing things out, releasing any negativity, toxins that come from other people's emotions, your emotions, blocks, um, yeah, anything like that. And then I would just put in your favorite essential oil. And if you want, you can really look into what you want to call in and then pick the essential oil based on that. I always feel like some kind of self love one is good. So I would recommend roses, cedar, or pine because those are all great for the heart chakra and receiving. But honestly, there's so many more who probably also do that. Those are just the ones that I've always associated with it. I also feel like lavender would be a good one for you guys. I think it's going to help you be more calm, and it also does clear things extra, and maybe that's also why it's good because I feel like you've got a lot of other people's emotions that sort of just lingered around you without you quite fully realizing it. And yes, you do those on both new moons and full moons, and then you do release writing and then a gratitude list. And depending on new moon or full moon, you just kind of write down the things that you want to bring in. And then instead of just staying and leaving it at that, because that's so overwhelming to be like, okay, I'm just going to get this new job, you start saying, like, well, every Friday I can send out a resume to a company, or even go even one smaller step than that. I will make a resume. And then you go, I will send a resume out to one person every Friday. And then from there, you just create all these other little small actionable steps, like the ones you literally think about what's the first thing I would have to do to get this started and write that down. And it really helps with not feeling overwhelmed. And this also for people who like to have a little bit more control and don't like to feel like life is just happening to them. This is a good way to kind of manage that need for control because you can control taking the actionable steps and what it's going to look like, but you're letting go of how things are going to work out, how it's going to come in. Like it's really releasing the how to the universe so it can bring it in some strange way that a human could never think of. And that's usually when the best things happen to us. So there's definitely that message here for you guys. Let's see. Yeah, don't wait for a crisis to happen to be grateful for your life. Today, focus on what you have to be thankful for. Oh, sorry. So I should also mention, so after you take those actionable steps, it's always good to, I was going to say, there's a few different things that people do. Some people just write gratitude lists about what they actually already have. Some people who like to manifest things in actually write a gratitude list about the things that they want in the future, but they speak about how they feel as if they had it now. So how that would look like would be like, I'm so grateful for my new Mercedes Benz. I love the leather seats in it. I love how the windows roll down automatically and the breeze hits my face. I love drinking my coffee in my new blue Mercedes Benz with my cute, I don't know, dashboard fun item. I'm just rambling. No, but they like, if that, I don't know if that was like a good example, but it like literally says like you don't have the Mercedes Benz, but if you literally dedicate a journal to just writing and you explain all the feelings you feel about already having it, it's almost like saying how if people are always talking about in the future they want something, the future is always the future. It won't all of a sudden shift to now energy. So these people who manifest that way are like, let's skip that step. Let's just say now then. Right now I have it, not in the future. Right now I have it and I'm so grateful. I feel this way. And when we associate positive feelings to the things we want to manifest in and we allow our bodies to feel that feeling, it's way more powerful. Yeah. So that could be something else for you guys to do as well. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, like there's lots of homework, but I almost feel like the point of this reading is they really want to give you a lot of like options and tools because they think you've been frustrated with where you've been stuck. I'm not sure if everyone's been stuck somewhere, but when I see a lot of circles, to me, it usually means like you feel stuck in cycles. Like you're like, oh, I'm here again. I thought I was out of this. Or you start to notice a pattern, like maybe they're just yearly cycles, maybe they're monthly. It could be with people or your workplace or just your emotions where you do really good and then bam, you're back in like a low cycle. There's just something around that for you guys. And this is what this message is about nipping that in the butt so you don't have to keep feeling that way. Yeah, divine presence. Okay, so do you maybe want to touch base on these cards? So it says, even the opinions you have about yourself are not necessarily true. Therefore, you don't need to take whatever you hear in your own mind personally. I think that just speaks to the fact that a lot of us are pretty harsh on ourselves. I think that could even be a little bit of why they mentioned the inner child here as the orphan, saying release self-judgment. I think it's just one of those things where we're just pushed so hard when we're younger to be better, we're not doing good enough, feeling all those emotions, and then we don't realize that the words that like our peers and our parents said to us are now the same voices we use with ourselves in our heads. And it's just a bit of a habit to be aware of so we can start shifting. For some of you, I feel like some of you are confused about that. I think it's one of those things that's really quite amazing where we always think we're not as hard on ourselves as we actually are. And I do think this does help us become even better communicators and more compassionate towards the people around us. Because if you're like saying these things to yourself, in some cases, people would never say it to somebody else. But in a lot of cases, when we don't think we are being harsh to ourselves, we don't realize that other people could be feeling that kind of way from us because we don't recognize it as bad or hurtful or not the most loving way to share our expressions or concerns. Sorry, the example I just got in my head was if, say, like a loved one, could be a friend, a child, or partner, would do something where you're scared they're gonna like cut their hand when they're cutting something on a cutting board, and you kind of freak out. You're like, what are you doing? Like, that's so dumb. Like, you're gonna cut your hand off, or like you say something like that. And I feel like they're saying, you could say, oh, hey, you know what? I've seen that technique hurt some people. Would you mind if I showed you a different way? Would you mind cutting it a different way? Because I'm really worried about you getting hurt. And even that, I guess, probably isn't the best example, but they're just saying something about word shifting. I feel like you have a lot of concern for some people and that you can get like triggered and want to jump to their safety or to helping them, but maybe sometimes the words aren't super loving. And they're saying this is all stemming from I think how you talk to yourself or how people parented you and you're not realizing that you might be picking up or repeating how you were parented, which is, I want to just say again, is 100% normal. And I honestly, this message here, I don't think is even going to resonate with everyone. I think it feels like it's just for somebody who's needing to hear that. Like, I feel like someone got really hurt by a situation like that where someone was like you had the best interest of that other person, and the way you responded, the person reacted really badly towards you and you were confused, you were just trying to help them, and you, yeah, they're just saying that's what that whole message was about. Okay. This other one here says, making assumptions is a setup for suffering because usually we gossip about our assumptions. We make assumptions and believe we are right. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make others wrong. Eliminate gossip. So there's definitely two messages here. It's very human of us, especially if we pick up on everyone else's emotions, to feel overwhelmed. And I find sometimes when I was overwhelmed, I would feel more dramatic, but I would always not feel quite like myself, where I'd be like, this isn't really who I am. I'm not like this when I'm in my normal daily life. And I think it could be a little bit of that message for you guys. If you've caught yourself saying things and being like, why am I saying this? I think it's just all that emotion you're feeling of these other people, of the building. Unfortunately, like the restaurant industry or salons and stuff, there can be a lot of cattiness. I think that is saying it could be that. So energy shielding very important. And then the other message here is definitely around the fact that sometimes we don't hear people clearly because we think they're saying one thing, but they're actually saying something else. But we're just using our life experiences and our emotions that we're feeling in that moment to make sense. And we kind of, it's almost like we fill in the gaps instead of asking questions. We fill it in with what we personally know to be true. And then I think that is what causes a lot of miscommunications in this world. And it could be why there is a little bit of blue throughout this reading. Usually just means a bit of a communication block on both sides. People not hearing you and you not feeling like people. I feel like it could be like you're speaking and you feel like people just aren't giving you their full attention, where you might have to like repeat yourself again, or you explain something for someone to do and they're just sitting there and they're like, what do you mean? No, you never told me that. And like, that's so frustrating when people do that, because you're like, I took the time to like kindly describe it to you and you just didn't take the time to listen to me. I don't know, there's something, could be something around that. I feel like this reading's been a little bit all over the place, so I'm sorry about that. I think one of the issues here, I don't feel like there's just like one main energy or two main energies. I feel like there's just a lot. I almost wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you chose this pile and are also going to choose another pile. It doesn't mean that you have to, but I actually just feel like usually I connect to one energy specifically, but they're just like giving me all these random examples. I don't feel associated with each other. So it could really be like, just take honestly what resonates with this one and leave the rest, because it could really have just been one thing they wanted you to hear. And yeah, and that was it, because I'm not feeling a general flow to this whole reading. I feel like they're just like, give these people all the advice you have for empaths and all the small things that could help them manifest and get out of this and break cycles and stop feeling gross because of feeling everyone else's emotions. So I do want to touch base about this Lilith card, if some of you have heard that name before. So there's a couple different theories. The theory one is that she was like the first woman made for Adam, like the Adam and Eve, but she didn't want to be subservient to his needs and what he wanted from her. So she left and then was demonized in the Bible for it. So that's one theory. But if that is the theory you're going off of, it's basically saying it's time to reflect and embody what you want and bring it into this world, which goes pretty good with that manifestation theme. She's kind of like reminding people that there could be emotional and spiritual desires in our unconsciousness that we truly crave and that we're not acknowledging. Don't know why. I also just feel like she represents like a healthy, strong sexuality. And I think what I mean by that is that sometimes this might be more applicable to females here, but sometimes females feel like they are either being like too desperate or a whore or a slut or any of those words if they enjoy sex or want sex, or there's like the opposite where they feel like due to society, and actually I think where that could be where the Adam thing comes in, where a lot of society, like in Hollywood movies and such, they're always like showing the camera through the eyes of a guy. Like if you guys have ever noticed, like maybe there's some shows you don't care much for, like it's always like focusing on the girl's boobs and her butt, or always like pointed down on the girl so you can see more down her shirt. And it's so I don't know if you've ever been like, why are they doing that for this show? But then you'll see like another one and a woman can be treated like a regular human being, or she's just like a bimbo and she's desirable because she doesn't put out easy and she's like harder to get, and that makes her desirable because she's so innocent and pure. And I think they're just kind of saying like this card really represents like a healthy balance, like getting rid of all those societal expectations around what a woman should be or what is okay to be. And I just really see that energy of being of like that very biased social media perception of women having to be hot, focusing on only their boobs and like how nice their skin is, how fluffy and buoyant their hair is, and just being like it's okay to just stand in your own power and be so unforgivably yourself. Whatever that looks like, follow your desires, whether it is like passions for a certain hobby, for a career, for an organization. Yeah, and if it is even around, maybe you've had some blocks around sex in your life, it's just saying like it wasn't from like the universe doesn't agree with those beliefs. It really came from the human that a woman should be that way, and it was unfortunately portrayed in film and in magazines, and that was so important back in the day. Even now it's important, but I think a lot of us don't realize how important it was, where everyone would go see a movie because that was like the new thing to do. And I honestly don't think people realize that if that was the only way you saw women portrayed, and was all these people are paying to go see this movie and they're just fawning over this woman being portrayed in that way and how hot she was, and like it's just like, wow, I guess this is what people want. This is what makes a woman desirable and worthy. So I don't, that was a bit of a rant, but that seemed important to say for somebody. Yeah, it just she's like a woman who refuses to be dominated or be defined by anyone other than herself and her inner self, if that makes sense. Not her ego. Asks you to reflect on what would be the worst thing that happened. Like, what would really happen if you just chose to live your dreams and forget what everyone else thought about them? Which is always a hard thing to ask because then our egos kick in and start making us afraid and go in overdrive. But I think they say, like, at the end of the day, like, maybe that one person is surprised, is disappointed, but what about you? your life. It's important that you're the one who isn't disappointed by the end of it. So this divine presence card, the force of love and creation, honestly just also adds into these other cards that I was saying about it's really important that you reconnect with the divine energy, the source energy, whatever you want to call it, to recharge yourself. And I feel like you're going to find more. We always say downloads, but really what it means is I find that you're going to have more inspiration, more creative thoughts, more. I just feel like overall more energy, but all in the positive way where you're like, I'm ready. I feel so inspired to move on to this next thing, to start this new project in my life, to really see all the goodness that's possible and I am deserving and worthy of in this world. There's definitely a receiving healing that needs to happen with this. I almost wonder if there's some limiting belief for this group about not thinking they're worthy of that connection. I didn't really catch that till I looked at this card. And like, unfortunately, being a general reading, it's really hard to peg it, but I think maybe it's worth trying to reflect on that because, as I said before, everyone is entitled and worthy of connecting to that energy. It fuels us all. It's what keeps us from not getting sick from diseases and exhaustion. It keeps us healthy. Like, it really keeps us healthy. And we all came from that energy. So I wonder what happened that made some of you think that you weren't worthy of that, almost of that help, of that connection. So, yeah, I would look at that. I can't seem to go deeper than that, but it's definitely very important because it would really, it's for an empath specifically, it'd be really exhausting to not ever be connected like that. So, some of you watching this reading might be from like a minority ethnicity group. That actually might be why some of you are feeling on some root level that you aren't worthy of this kind of connection with the energy. I don't know 100% if that's going to be all of you, but I think that could be it actually, especially with all the societal influences that I feel like are really coming up in this reading. I think it's saying, because after looking at this card and this card together, it's like understanding that this world has its issues and that we're like, you're not alone in this. A lot of us are suffering through these issues. Like, a lot of us are feeling them on some level. And I know that doesn't just make things better, but they're saying sometimes it's nice to know you're not the only one. It feels isolating, but we've all isolated ourselves in some ways by all these silly belief systems that we just still haven't quite gotten rid of, and stereotypes. So this card here does like call you to accept everything and don't reject anything. We're all from the same source. It all is a loving force despite how we present it here. And that diversity should be appreciated and celebrated and honored and hopefully embraced if we keep making progress. It's when this card comes up, it's actually a really good sign that you guys are now entering a path or a stage in your life, a cycle, whatever you want to call it, where you are starting to wake up, build your consciousness and unconsciousness. Your soul spark is gonna like relight, which is just like your passion, your soul purpose, why you're here. It's all gonna start feeling more connected and more inspired and more alive. And I think your intuition is all of a sudden just gonna start going through the roof. I think your energy levels are going to change drastically. You are going to start seeing the unhealthiness of the people around you, where before I think their words and such resonated and wounded you. I think you're going to be able to see it as they themselves are wounded and are in need of healing, the people that are saying this to you. It's like a very interesting time. It's actually a really good card to get. It means basically higher sight and reconnection with yourself and your purpose and your joy. So pretty good card. I'll just see what else there is here. I guess I haven't talked about these ones yet. This is, to where does my soul want to travel? And I would almost wonder if that's like a good call out, because I feel like this group's really wanting change. It's not liking the society they're in or the environment they're in or the people they're around and the way they're being treated. So I think travel could mean move or shifts or growth. So here we go. Let's just read it quick. When we travel, we grow, we open up our little world to more adventure, thrills, patience, understanding, trust, and oneness. Our hearts and minds expand and our desires are satisfied. Where is your soul calling you to visit? How you can take action. Pick a location on your desired list. Choose a date when you will get there and start planning. Create a Pinterest board or start searching on travel sites for the best restaurants, anything that will create movement to let the universe know you are ready to make it happen. Believe in you. So I wonder if that's also one of the things you guys were trying to manifest in, is going on a vacation, traveling somewhere else, moving somewhere else. This does go pretty well with that start of the reading. Okay, and then the next card says, am I in my head or my heart? So that means, are you thinking logically all the time and justifying your thoughts that way? Or are you just feeling your emotions and your desires and what your heart truly wants for you in this lifetime? All right, let's read it. What is the quality of your self-talk? Our brain is like a muscle. If we condition it daily, the fears and limitations will take over. Mastering our thoughts is about being the creator of our own life. Where your head meets your heart is where miracles happen. Soul action. Today, master your mind. Watch an inspiring video, do some tapping, read an empowering book, or write out all the reasons why you believe in yourself and your dreams. So it's shifting your mindset to, I feel like, gratitude for being you, self-love. Really good. Also connects pretty well with the start of this reading. Okay, I do think that's all the messages I have. I don't know if I actually read this card that says you can detach from drama. I do feel like that was also a message from reading some of these cards about maybe you're sometimes not feeling 100% like yourself and creating gossip or saying things that seem a bit more dramatic that maybe people sometimes use against you, or just didn't feel true to yourself. You felt a bit gross. Yeah, okay. I think that's actually all the messages I have for you guys. I do want to say, if you see a lot of numbers regularly, don't forget to look up the spiritual meanings of them or the angelic meanings of them. You feel like you guys might see a lot of fours or other numbers that might seem very random to other people because they might not be the traditional, like 1111 or 555. I think you guys might see times like 1037 or 613, and you're like, oh, I just always see that time, but it doesn't mean anything. Look those numbers up anyways, because I think it's just a slightly more uncommon message that they want you to know, which I would say are the angels, but it could be whatever guides you choose to use. Okay. I hope you guys found some useful, helpful messages from this. I felt like it was a little bit all over the place, but towards the end, I was like, okay, it's all connecting together. maybe this is making sense to someone.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed your card readings. I just wanted to take the time to let you know that if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I do have accounts where I just bring you information about the spiritual. It can be anything from more protection ways, energy clearing ways, just some like fun facts around maybe why you wear like a ring on a certain finger and stuff like that. Also, if you're interested in booking a private reading, you can do so through my website, empoweredreadings.com. And yeah, anyways, if not, it'd be just great if you could leave a comment or a like on this video so I know that it's resonating with you guys and that I am helping somebody out there. Anyways, you guys have a good day and hopefully I catch you around.
Hello, pile 2. You guys chose the amethyst cluster. All right, let's get into it. Okay, pile 2. There is a ton of cards here saying that the guides, the angels, spirit, they all want you to have some more self-love and set aside time for self-care. Almost all these cards are just saying in a different way how to do that and how much they want you to have that in your life. That will definitely be the main theme of this reading. So let's get into it. There is a message pretty strong here saying it's important that you guys listen to your intuition. It is coming from your higher self. It's not coming from your ego. It's not like coming from, I feel like some of you might think like an emotional weakness or not being strong enough. Your intuition is honestly coming from that higher self who's trying to guide you and give you downloads and clarity on how to help yourself be more fulfilled and basically be more energized so that you can shine a light on this earth and be a helper and a healer the best that you can be without being exhausted. I do see a message here about it's time to put your emotional needs and your physical needs first before anybody else, and to recognize that it's not a selfish action. It's like that common saying that people say you have to save yourself first before you can save someone else. Otherwise, usually you both just end up dying, like on a plane with an air mask, or I'm trying to think of other common ones where they say that, but I can't think of any right now. But that is definitely a pretty big message coming through. And they want you to start communicating the words no to all these people who keep asking you for more and more favors. I think that word gets used specifically for this group. I think people are like, oh, I just need another favor. Would you mind doing me a quick favor? Could you help me out one more time? Like, I just feel that energy a lot coming from this pile. And they're saying that it's time to set boundaries with those people. And essentially, these people are just going to keep asking because they're expecting you to say no when you can't handle it. And for those who are like, oh no, they're gonna handle it so badly. I think if they're actually good people, they're gonna be maybe a little bit shocked, a little bit confused for the first like little bit, but then they're gonna realize, oh yeah, like she can't just keep running off of dead batteries. She needs to take time to recharge herself and take care of herself. And I think that could also be a good sign for you guys to see who is taking advantage of you versus who is a true friend or healthy person to be around. I also just was thinking about, they say we teach others how we want to be treated. And I think they're saying like if you're letting people overuse you like this or pushing yourself to the limits all the time or not giving yourself time to listen to your own self, your own body. I think that could be a little bit why this can happen in your other relationships, is that they're literally just mimicking how you're treating yourself back at you. And it's not a conscious thing, it's not a mean thing. It's just almost how the universe gets us to learn how we're treating ourselves is by returning people and getting them to treat us how we've verbally talked about ourselves or treated ourselves around them. Yeah, so just getting back on the note about your bodies are feeling very overworked and drained. They've tried to communicate that to you. I think at first it was like kind of gentle things, like waking up just a little more tired than normal for what you should have done, to maybe just starting to get some minor headaches or minor body stiffness, tightness. Maybe I feel like for you guys, you probably get a lot of like neck stiffness, pain. And I think those were like the gentle signs they were trying to give you, which I know they don't seem that gentle sometimes, of that it was needing a break. You were overworking it, you were overgiving. But now your emotional health is largely impacting your physical body. So it's not that you just got bad genetics or a bad, like, I feel like you guys call it garbage, and I think that could also be a very big issue with that. Is it's like you're even saying that, oh yeah, like my body sucks. My body, uh I just keep getting the word garbage. I don't know, maybe you guys said that once or something like that, but it's just saying like it's just you're treating it like it's not part of you and it is yourself, and unfortunately, it's emotional. It's the lack of recognizing its emotional needs and health is now coming up in some more severe physical, I want to say injuries, chronic pain, um, stiffness is definitely a very common one. I think autoimmune would start coming up around now just because it's so linked to our emotions. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I could go deeper with that, but I think you guys get the idea. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to say you were bad people in any way. It's just saying that your body is really, really wanting you to pay attention to it. And how you do that is by reconnecting with it, changing your verbiage around it when you're talking about it and describing it, and like feeling your emotions in the moment, giving yourself permission to feel your emotions, and then release them. Because once they've been acknowledged and heard, like most people want to be, or emotions are the same, and then you can be like, thank you. Now I release you. I don't need you anymore. And some emotions aren't going to go that quick, but a lot of like those quick ones do. And it's just going to help with not adding more to the pile of emotions that have been feeling unheard and a bit stuck within you. You also get the impression that some of you are just trying to push through this physically. I think, like, I see some people are just like drinking extra coffee or taking more Tylenols or Advils during a day. And I'm suspicious that this isn't working for you, but you're just doing it anyways to because you just don't know what else to do and you just want to keep doing what you're doing. And I do get in some cases, this isn't for everyone, but in some cases, I think if you keep pushing this hard, you are gonna be the people who have like adrenal fatigue for a year or two, like all these things that are preventable, but you're just pushing so hard to keep going, to keep helping other people, to keep working, to take on, I think, like the burden of the world emotionally and physically, that your body is gonna like have to have balance and it's gonna shoot back the other way. So I'm not saying this is a thing that you can't change, but I'm just seeing that this is coming up because they're like, if you keep going this way, this could be the reality, and we don't want that to be reality. Your body wants to work with you. It doesn't want to be at a disharmony. I guess I feel like I really need to reiterate that. Like, the body is a part of you and loves you, and it needs your love back. It can't just be a one-sided relationship, and it definitely wants you to nurture it and take care of it. And I even feel like if you feel like it's babying it, that's what it wants right now. It doesn't mean you have to stop all activity, stop all things, but you know how I was saying how everyone in their life wants to be heard and recognized? That is really what it wants right now. It wants you to just sit with it and just, I feel like if you just meditated and said, what does my body want me to know right now? And just being okay, even if you're like, I don't know what's happening or if anything's happening at all, just feeling those emotions that are coming up, feeling them through is a huge healing step for your body. It's like you've given it space, you're holding space without judgment to just feel it and see what comes up. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here, give you a little break from me maybe pushing that on you. Sorry, I always feel bad, but I'm like, I just say that whatever messages come up, they wouldn't come up unless they needed to be said. And I'm still learning on how to communicate things as gently and loving as possible while still being very clear. So I'm working on that. Forgive me if it seemed really harsh. Okay. So the thing I want to talk about now is the sun. I feel like you guys are extremely connected to sun energy. Um, I would recommend, because I do recommend energy shielding, especially for highly intuitive or empathic people. Actually, I recommend it for anyone, but especially the intuitively sensitive and empathic people, because you're just feeling too many things. It's overwhelming, overstimulating, draining, exhausting. You can't you can't tell what is your emotion, what is someone else's when you're feeling like 100 people in the room's emotions. It's just too much. It literally could drive a person crazy. So, energy shielding, I really think you guys could benefit from energy shielding with gold light, or if you want to do this, this isn't going to be for everyone, but if some of you are feeling like this resonates, I would consider asking the sun if it would shield you with its energy. And how that would look, instead of doing a bubble around you, you're going to ask it to do that. And if you can visualize like a pillar of light coming from the sky above all the way down and hitting the ground, and then asking for that to stay for the whole day. I really feel good about this like sun energy pillar of light around you. I think something about that is going to really rejuvenate your energies that your body, your soul really craves. It could be about from where you are. They could have had a very similar energy as our sun does. Um, Sorry, I meant on a soul level. I should speak more precisely there. We're all like reincarnated people. I usually find empaths are a little bit older of souls or star beings of some sort. And I think for sure this group is just not used to, I would say, the energies of this planet. So I think the sun energy is going to be really good. That being said, there's definitely some of you who would want to do the same thing, but with the moon's energy. So whatever, that's what I mean. This is a general reading. So if this isn't resonating with you, don't take it. There's just this message for someone who's going to hear this. Yeah, and then big theme I've noticed of this year with all my card readings is doing full moon rituals. I should actually meditate myself and ask my guides why they're enforcing that specific thing almost every card reading, but they are really enforcing it. They enforce it in the last group. They're doing it in this group where they're saying doing a full moon ritual is also a really great form of self-care and self-love and reconnection with yourself. So that's probably why it keeps coming up, actually. So if you don't know what that looks like, my simplest way that I do it is I do an Epsom salt bath with 2 cups of Epsom salt for the bath, at least, because that's like a therapeutic amount. And then you're going to take your favorite essential oils. I would recommend looking into what they do for you on a spiritual level, just to have more intention behind that. And if you're drawn to rose or some kind of floral one, that would be great. Or I always say cedar or pine, but I actually think floral's better for you guys. It's all good for the self-love, heart opening, and the Epsom salt's going to clear everyone's gross energies they've kind of stuck on you and put on you that you didn't realize weren't your own. And then after that bath, you come out, you do some journaling, some release writing. You then write a gratitude list about everything that you're grateful for and that helps shift your mentality and gets you into more positive cycles. It seems crazy to say that, but once you start, you're just kind of like, wow, I finally understand what everyone means when they say that, like these gratitude things. It just gets you to focus on the goodness in the situation in an unconscious way, and then your unconscious thoughts tend to become more positive. And then taking actionable steps is another one that you can add on to that, where you just think of your goals, the desires you have, and then putting them into the very first baby steps on what you would do. So if you're going to make a recipe, you'd be like, well, very first, I need to find a recipe. I need to make a list of the things I need to get that I don't have in my house, and then I can make it. It's doesn't obviously not about a recipe, but that's like the simplest way I could think of giving you the small actionable steps so that it's not so overwhelming. I do see a ton of triangles in this reading and also a ton of circles. So just triangles on their own usually means that there's a call for you to reach out to your support systems more. Instead of being the support system, you yourself need a support system. And I think for you, just even having two good friends or having like a strong, healthy family member and then a good friend, that's enough. I mean, it's always better to have more. Don't limit yourself to that. But I think if some of you are like, I don't have that many people, it's fine. They're literally saying if there's just two others who can hold you and help you not always be the giver, it's really going to help you out on an energetic, emotional, and a receiving side of things. And then also, if you guys are into doing a little more than just watching card readings, you're a little more into spiritual, I've seen this sign a lot lately. If you ignore like this, it's just like the circle and the triangle. And it is like a really old symbol of protection in multiple cultures. Yeah, I don't know. That might just resonate with you for some reason. I don't have a lot of information around it, but they're just showing me that. It could also just mean that you are very protected. I do get that in that vibe. I do think that there are lots of spirit guides and or angels that are trying to give you guidance and work with you and kind of help you ascend to your higher purpose. I don't think you're far off from this track, but I think right now you guys are just in this weird, exhausting cycle. I do think there's a few different groups here, though. I think there's some where you've just fallen a little bit off the path. You kind of got overworked a little bit. And then I think there's some here who are just starting that like journey of embracing the spiritual, embracing their higher purpose, but they have some fears. There's some blocks that they need to work through yet. And that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's awesome that you are trying to find ways to get out. I always think like those first steps when you're first, I don't know how to put it, when you're first leaving the world and society and realizing that you want more than what the norm is, I think that's just such a really incredible energy. It's like in some ways it's the hardest energy you have to face because you don't really know what to do or where to go, and that's okay. We'll give you all the advice I can in this reading. So let's see where I'm gonna go from here. Okay, I was talking about fears and taking action, so I'm gonna look at these ones here. So it says replace fear with love. The human mind is like a fertile ground where seeds are continually being planted. When you are impeccable with your word, your mind is no longer fertile ground for the words that come from fear. Your mind is only fertile for the words that come from love. So I think what that's actually calling you is to watch your inner voice, like your mental talk, mental self-talk, I think is what it's called, and realizing that I think for you guys, you might put yourselves down a lot, like, oh, I didn't do that very great, or I even think for this group, you could be some of those people where you get given a compliment, and you'll see how sometimes people will like shoo their hand away, like they'll flick it away from their body, like they're like flicking away the comment, like, oh no, you're you're pretty, I'm not pretty, or oh no, it's nothing. But they always do this hand gesture. I used to do that all the time until I got looking into it more, and they were saying how, because I had a receiving block as well, I think it's pretty common. But they were saying like people who embrace receiving things, they notice just on a physical level, when someone was talking to them, gave them a compliment, they took their hand and put it towards their heart. And I've seen people do that in real life. And I was always like, oh, I thought they're just being like dramatic, but it's actually them showing on a very, even like very to the physical level, that they're accepting it. Thank you. The gratitude there for receiving it and that they're worthy of it. So I don't know, maybe try, I looking at that, maybe notice what your body language and your words start to do, even when people start to give you compliments. Or I just feel like in a lot of ways there's receiving blocks. That's kind of different from that message, but that really came up all of a sudden, to try and say thank you. And if you feel like it's not true and you want to say all the reason why it's not, just try your best to say thank you and nothing else from there. Just thank you. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay. It's not vulnerable. It's You are deserving of it. And I think slowly over time, just changing those small things might help you guys out a lot for the bigger things, like having the universe help you bring in like the most highly divinely aligned career or people in your life, friends, partnerships. It's all starts with those small things. So it's next one says take action on your ideas. Doing your best means to take action. You can have many great ideas in your head, but without action upon an idea, there will be no manifestation, no results, and no reward. Yeah, that pretty much says it, doesn't it? I think that actually is coming from fear, though, is and overwhelm. I should actually correct that. As soon as I said that, I was like, no, it's definitely overwhelm. When you're like, there's so much to do, I don't know where to start. That actually comes back to that full moon ritual, new moon ritual, where you should write out your goal that I think you guys have a couple on your mind right now. And just go, okay, like if I were to make a recipe, or if what would be the first step? So, what would be the first step for this goal? If it's even just writing down like research, I don't know, whatever the topic is, write that down. That's like when you see that goal, you're like, okay, maybe you can make it even more specific. Look up one question around it versus research everything. Just say, look up what this means, look up what that looks like. Yeah. And then just keep doing the next step from there. And then, bam, the goal. I think that's really going to help you guys. It's like one of those things where I think we all know to do that, but then when we have such big goals sometimes, or we feel really stuck or tired, we forget just breaking things down, making it really simple is like the easiest way to actually get things accomplished. Okay. Be lighthearted. Set your intentions to be easygoing and playful today. Give yourself with some carefree time to have fun. Ooh, that's also a really good point. It actually makes me think how I had just done like I researched because I didn't actually know this, and I kept running into other spiritual teachers and people who sold crystals who didn't know this. And it seems so weird that, like, why do we wear a certain crystal jewelry on each finger? And this is going to seem very random, but I was just thinking, like, sometimes I'll get a ring and I will never wear it on any other finger, or I'll try it on the store and I'm like, I don't like this. But then if I put it on the other finger, the same finger, I'm like, wow, this is such a beautiful, great ring. And I was just thinking about this because I was researching about it, and we were just talking about research about our intentions and making sure you have time to play. And it was like saying how when you wear a ring on your middle finger, it helps with creativity and focus, depending on which hand you choose. Um, and I don't know why. Maybe that would help you guys find more balance. If you, and I mean, you do have to be kind of intentful about what type of crystal you want on each finger and bringing that into that property. But the one I chose for my focus finger, before I even knew it, was one that grounds me so that I have better balance in working and doing the things I want to do because I love them. And it's not that I don't love card reading, but it is actually very energetically tiring. And the video editing for these is very long because I just don't have any training in that. So I do like it, but it is tiring. And I've noticed that when I don't take the time to go out on the mountains or doing whatever it is that I feel like doing, to just remember that life is about having fun and living it. I find that I can come back. I'm way more accurate on my readings. I'm way more into them. Overall, I feel way less drained and tired because I'm not just it's almost like you put your soul to sleep a little bit. It's like, oh, we're not going to have fun today. What's the point of even being here? It's trying to focus, it's procrastinating, it's not being there. Yeah, it makes sense. Anyways, that was kind of a rant, and I felt like I went on 100 different subjects for that one, but hopefully that made sense. Be more lighthearted, prioritize the fun times, not just always having to accomplish your huge lists of tasks you have to complete and help other people with. Okay, listen to the wisdom of your intuition. So that is actually testing base with what we talked about at the start about listening to your higher self, your intuition. They're all connected, they're all coming from the same place. Your inner voice is the best friend you will ever have. Seek answers from deep within rather than just through your intellect. That is actually very wise. I've noticed that a lot of people, when you say, do you feel that way? Or are you just thinking that's the right thing to do? Or do you want to do that? Or are you thinking it's the best thing to do? A lot of people don't understand the difference there. One is where you're just in your head and you're thinking about the whys it's a good idea, the why isn't, what would happen if you did or didn't. You're answering all the W questions in your head. But when they say, do you want to? Are you feeling like that? They're saying, step out of that brain, focus your energy going down to your heart or your gut, whatever one calls to you. Both work. They're both very attached to self love, true self kind of energy. And I think for you guys, it would even be good to place your hands on, like, say, your heart or on your. I want to. Funny enough, I think I'm saying gut, but I think for you guys, it's kind of like the solar plexus, in between the solar plexus and the sacral, and it could just be because it's around decisions about you having fun, and that's like what gives you passion and creativity and empowers you. So I think both those places, whatever you feel called to, would be good. Closing your eyes, take 4 deep breaths. I know sometimes that's annoying, but it's going to calm you down. It's literally going to lower your heart rate. It's going to get you a little more focused on just being and listening. And then without any expectation, just ask yourself, what do I want to do right now? Or how do I feel about this situation? And whatever comes up, that's your answer. You don't doubt it. You don't start saying, well, that won't work because this person will be upset. That's thinking again. That's not feeling. And I have one thing from personal experience I've also noticed around when you do that is, if you want your intuition to start forming a stronger relationship with yourself and have a better connection with yourself, in those moments where you do things like that, you can't just go and shut it down. I always kind of like treat it like another person. I keep coming back to that, where it's like, okay, if you expressed how you felt about something, what you were really wanting, and it felt very vulnerable, that's how your intuition and inner self feels. And then you're like, oh, but that's just not going to work. Imagine someone saying that to you. It would be heartbreaking. And then you're just going to feel small and you're just going to go hide again. That is what's happening with your intuition. It's almost like for you, I think it's not quite your inner child, but it's pretty linked to that, where it's just asking you to actually, if you're going to ask, be gentle about why you won't listen to it, even though it's calling you to listen to it, so that you get more on a self accepting, self loving, self honoring path. I just know realistically in this human world, we don't just go from like not ever doing that to being there. So they're just saying, if you're going to turn it down, and once you've asked, be very gentle with it and say, I'm going to try my best to honor that, but I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning how to set my boundaries. And it might sound very strange to you, but I just think it's really going to help in the long run for not just breaking that connection again and again, because it really does want to be heard and seen and respected. Because it is very vulnerable. It's just naturally a very vulnerable thing. It has no attachment to our ego uh, when we're talking to our intuition and our bodies and what it wants. So when you say no, I feel like it just hurts it a little bit more. With that being said, I think you should do the same exercise with your inner child. I'm not too sure if inner childs and egos are linked, but I feel like those two get confused a lot. Just because our inner child has a lot of like self-defense mechanisms that will override our conscious mind sometimes without us even realizing it, or unconscious mind. I've seen both. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna leave that there. I'm starting to confuse myself with all these different words I'm saying. It says, assert your authentic needs. In a kind, confident tone, speak your needs rather than hiding them. Empower yourself by being authentic. So I think that really comes to, I've seen a couple cards here saying that you guys really, I don't know if you realize this, but you really aren't communicating to people when they're asking too much, when they've, when you're drained. Like, I think unfortunately some people are just so in their own worlds that they're like, oh, she said yes, this is good enough. That's fine. That works out better for me. I kind of wanted her to say yes anyways. So when you just keep saying yes and not saying how you're feeling, they just really don't know how much they're asking of you. And I think that could create a lot of tensions even within that relationship, where I think it could make you feel a bit hurt or bitter towards them, but then at the same time you love them and you want to help them out and you don't want to be that person who says no when you can just do it. Yeah, you can see how that gets a bit messy. Yeah, okay, I actually want to go over here. And I want to read these cards. Actually, first I want to say, I was looking at this one where it's just saying, like, I am a warrior of love. My devotion attracts resources and support. This does come back to that triangle thing I was talking about with the support foundations, and it's okay to lean on them. You can still be a strong person, a self sufficient, independent person, and have a support system. It just makes you burn out less, be clearer of mind. I think that's a big one, having more clarity mentally on what you want and what to do, and to release that need to be so independent. And that's a tough one, right? Because I think a lot of us grow that habit from having to take care of ourselves to get ourselves out of certain situations, or maybe even having like parents who weren't super supportive or emotionally available. So then we just kind of like put ourselves in the role of being an individual young. And I think that could be a little bit of what's happened here with this group. Okay, read these. I should read this first, actually. Am I clear on what my soul really wants? Take out the shoulds and the limitations, get out your head, and pay attention to your heart's desires instead. If you knew it was impossible to fail, what would you do? Wherever you go, go with all your heart. How you can take action. Ask yourself what it is that your soul really wants. What does your heart crave? Then take one step in that direction. So that goes, honestly, this whole reading is pretty good for looking back to itself. That doesn't always happen. About taking that time to meditate and ask yourself what you want, and then once you come up with it, I would write down those small actionable baby steps you can do to bring that into your reality. And I think you just, although it might seem like it's not going far, it's not getting you anywhere, it's actually, those are huge steps to start reconnecting with your true desires, what makes you excited and happy, and your soul purpose. Yeah, basically, I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to help you reconnect with what your soul purpose is. So, what is my body telling me right now? Our body speaks to us through physical pain or discomfort. Our body sends messages for us to look more deeply, see the trapped emotions, the lurking fears, and beliefs that limit you. Listen to your physical body, and you will be led to the source of your pain. It's time to get out. Sorry, it's time to get your healing on. So I'm honestly, I know I just said that, but I'm so impressed that all these cards are just like reiterating the same things. That's very confirming that this is for sure the message for this pile. Your action steps to get the book, Heal Your Body. It's by Louise L. Hay, and find the answers towards which your body is guiding you. There you go. You can get an audiobook too, I betcha. I feel like that's in the same realm as Brene Brown for some reason, or Christine Hassler, if you've ever heard of them. They're both very reconnecting with self. They have podcasts if you drive a lot, or if you just are like me and you struggle to take time to sit down and read a book, then I would recommend that. There's always like another way, another thing you can do. So many resources now. So this card here is really saying that you guys have been previously in a cycle of distractions, being too busy to pay attention to what's happening on a deeper level, both within yourself and within society and the world. I think this gets back to how I was saying how I think some of you are like just waking up, like something has happened and you're just like, I just see things differently, like, or all of a sudden you're just really interested in the spiritual realm and you can't quite say why, just something happened and now you're here. And that's really awesome. It's just kind of saying that now that you've woken up a little bit or have started to woken up a little bit, that you gonna go deeper now. Like you're gonna be drawn to go to the deepest roots of yourself and kind of see what's there. And that's actually really good because that's what you're needing to do to help with this physical terrain. Yeah, I can't really put the word to it because I do think there's just so many different ways it's showing up for people. I honestly think for some of them, people have like crazy headaches. You think some people are having just chronic pain in their necks and left shoulders. Lower back wouldn't surprise me. That's kind of where our like suppressed energy, emotions like to hang out, all that good stuff. I guess actually maybe I'll end this reading on is you don't have to buy a book for it. You can just Google like the spiritual meaning of, say, lower back pain or tooth pain, headaches, all that stuff. Or if you want, you can get a book and then every time you get like a ache somewhere, you can look it up because usually there's an emotional or a spiritual connection to it. And I actually find them to be insanely accurate. Sometimes I forget to look them up myself, but every time I do, I'm like, oh, yep, they're so right. That's definitely me right now. And that's obviously, it's not, I don't know. It's just like one of those things where I find if you have more information, it's nice because then you can just deal with it sooner or at least know why your body's doing it. That also is really nice because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it's frustrating when you feel like your body's working against you, but really it's just trying so hard in the only way it can communicate to you because you're not in touch with intuition all the time is by giving you aches and pains. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise, I know there's a lot of like lower sides here, but I think you guys are on a really awesome path right now. I think you're really gonna be in a healing, regenerating, getting back in touch with yourself. I think you're gonna find your soul purposes, the things that make you really excited, and it's gonna be very healing. And I think it's gonna also help you take your power back and have stronger boundaries with others. All great things. Yeah, and that's all I have for you guys. So,
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed your card readings. I just wanted to take the time to let you know that if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I do have accounts where I just bring you information about the spiritual. It can be anything from more protection ways, energy clearing ways, just some like fun facts around maybe why you wear like a ring on a certain finger and stuff like that. Also, if you're interested in booking a private reading, you can do so through my website, empoweredreadings.com. And yeah, anyways, if not, it'd be just great if you could leave a comment or a like on this video so I know that it's resonating with you guys and that I am helping somebody out there. Anyways, you guys have a good day and hopefully I catch you around.
hello, Pile 3. You guys chose this pirate stone. There we go. Let's get started. I'm definitely seeing a message around you're on a journey back to rediscovering yourself on the deepest levels. Our society has taught us to hide our shame as deep as possible, to be horrified if anyone sees it, and that we should probably never ever acknowledge it to ourselves or in public. It's just a gross thing. We don't go there. And why I'm talking about that is I think the two are very correlated. I think in some ways you might not have gone deeper with yourself or looked deeper because at first you look deeper and you see shame around actions you've done or ways you felt in the past, and it kind of just has previously stopped you from going deeper and reconnecting with yourself on that level. So it's saying you're being asked to reconnect with your feminine energy, to learn and remember the healthier ways of existing. And I'm using these words because I'm seeing that this pile is a group of very old souls. And this group knows on the deeper soul level the truth that our materialistic and gender biased societies have forgotten the original way of living, and that shame wasn't something that should ever existed to the extent that it does. And it exists in our society because we say all these things to children, to kids in school, to adults, to other co-workers that make us feel like we should be ashamed. And if you have any religious upbringing, I know a lot of religions unintentionally tend to cause a lot of that type of shame in people, especially when they grow up in those religions. So you are being asked to go within yourself and start figuring out this maze that I feel has been created within you. It's almost like there was a defense mechanism that you set up on a soul level. So, because you just, I don't think, could handle dealing with all these emotions. But now you're in a place where the universe wants to help support you, your guides want to help support you, and they're just saying it's time for you to do this work. You're gonna like ascend higher. You're just, I don't know. They're just saying like it's just time. It's just time. Your like higher self, your soul wanted this for you in this lifetime. You aren't here just to live the average human life and keep your blinders on. I hope that makes sense. So when you do go and do this deeper work, uh, they're saying like your soul knows how to get there. And this maze that you created was created by your subconscious. So you're going to be guided through it. And I think in some ways it's going to be good for not throwing anything at you too quickly. And I would think you're probably going to do it through some form of meditation or re- release writing, just sitting with yourself and being. The feminine energy is more just being okay with being versus having to go and do things. Yeah, I'm not getting it specific on how. They're saying that on a soul level, you know how, you just need to take the time to at first open the door that you're ready to start this journey. I am being told though that it is important that you go within yourself and start figuring out this maze with curiosity, love, and open-mindedness, and withhold judgment, because that's how your shame got there to begin with, and all these feelings that have become a bit suppressed within you. And whatever you come across, to understand that, to just accept it. Like, doesn't mean you have to love what you see, but to accept that what you see is part of you and worthy of being acknowledged, because it hasn't been acknowledged for, I think, years and years and years, or if ever. And it just needs that feminine energy, of that feminine aspect of yourself going in and holding space for it to be and to heal and to be released. I do think some wounding might have come around a loved one possibly saying something that really hurt you years ago. I would almost debatably say it was a parent or a sibling, or I even think like in one of your first romantic relationships, or I even want to say a suitor for some reason. Um, they said something to you that hit you so deep that you've never forgotten about it. And I think a lot of the shame started with whatever these words were, this incident was about. And then if you're feeling like what is all this even about? So we're saying like your personality right now is in the shadow aspect of it. You're not in your true authentic self. And how that can look is sometimes you can just pretend nothing's wrong. Um, they're saying the word delusional, but to be honest, like I don't really know what that means. It always feels a little bit harsh, but they're saying like, I think it's like denial. You can be in denial about a lot of things, and it wouldn't even be about this emotion exactly. Maybe when people tell you things, you can't, if you're not in connection with your emotions, you're not going to like be able to fully acknowledge and accept this information that people are telling you. It's there's too much in you. Like it's like you're full to the top. You can't take on any more stuff. So you can't have it come in. I feel like you guys are in a time where you almost need to crack everything open and do these defined beliefs that you have somewhere in your subconscious put on yourself and redefined who you are and the reality that's true for you. So I feel like you guys are naturally very playful, passionate, beautiful, and comfortable in your feminine energy. But I think that all got changed around this time where there's just this huge burden of shame that was brought into you. And I keep saying feminine energy. It doesn't matter the gender. Men and women both have feminine and masculine energy, and we both need them to be in balance. And if your feminine energy is basically suppressed or been like casted out, it'd be really hard for you to process your emotions. You'd always be someone who would have a hard time just not be in their head. Like if someone says, "How do you feel about that?" you might just be telling them why you think it's a good idea, and then that person would probably be like, "But what do you want to do?" and you just give them another thought-based thing. It's because you're not connecting to your emotions and your more feminine side to just go within, feel what feels right to you, what does your intuition want you to do. You just keep going back to the brain and being like, well, logically it just makes sense to do this. So it's really funny. I think you guys might even run into this problem a lot where people think you're just not being honest with them, but they don't realize that you just don't have a connection to that right now. It's still a process that you need to start going start addressing so that you can get there. Sorry, my communication was really bad in this reading. And then I always laugh because usually whoever's energy I'm channeling is my energy, and I see that there's two communication cards about communicating clearly in speaking. And I'm like, oh, I think you guys might struggle with that. I'm struggling with it right now. Hopefully I can just release that and start saying what I want to say clearer, because I'm not even understanding what I'm saying. Okay, so I think another shadow side of the energy that you're in right now is that you might be really obsessive, and sometimes you can project your anger or frustrations onto others, always unconsciously and not intentionally. But I feel like Spirit's kind of like telling me I've got to explain this to you, because I feel like this pile's like, well, where are you getting this information from? How do you know that? And they're like, just give them examples and then they can think about it, because they're probably not going to feel if it's true and see if it's accurate to them in certain situations. So that's why I keep trying to say the shadow sides and what that might be looking like for you versus the healthy aspect of it that it should be looking like for you. Okay, I'm just seeing what else is going on here. So I feel like you guys like nature a lot, and you might even be those people where you can just make anything grow. Plants don't die around you. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to have and be able to do. And yeah, I think maybe part of your self-care could even be taking time to be in those outdoors. It might be where your mind doesn't go in overdrive as much, where you're just being versus doing as much. Yeah, definitely a lot around nature. Okay, says the universe rewards motion. What guided actions can you take today? And then the next card right beside it says, nothing real can be a threat. How can you actively participate in creating heaven on earth? So I think that tells me that you guys are trying to change your realities right now. You're trying to make them more harmonious and alignment. And I imagine this just kind of feels like not the most ideal, highest vibrational place to be. It's like, something's wrong. And I just imagine like the suppressed emotion feeling quite gross over time. But if it's been there for so many years, you might not even realize that that is what's creating a lot of this. So I guess I'm I've recommended this for all the piles, is especially when it says appreciate the beauty of the moon. They're like getting into full moon and new moon rituals where you do some release writing, which will help you connect to your emotions. Don't just write down sentences about, I like pickles, I went to school when I was 8, I didn't like the kid there. I think you have to like go deeper, like try to put in emotions. The point of release writing is putting the emotion into it, feeling it, releasing it on the page, and then ripping that paper up to get rid of and release that energy that you put into it, or burning it if you have a safe place to do it. You think that's really going to be some good baby steps. And I think the more you do it, the more you start to understand what it's supposed to be like. Already, if you like some of you are going to be like, well, looking at this blank page, like, I don't know what to write. And they're saying, I think sometimes you guys care too much about doing things the perfect way, the best way, being like that overachiever. This is something no one else is going to see. So just let go of that need for perfection and to overachieve. That's a hard thing to ask, but they're literally just keep saying like no one's gonna know, even if you only write 2 sentences on that paper the first time and burn it. Like who's gonna know you only wrote 2 sentences other than you? It's still a first step, and the second time won't seem as intimidating. But I do think this is gonna really help you guys reconnect with your self-love and your emotions. Yeah, definitely. Your more true inner self. And I'm going to read the release shame card because I've just talked about it so much. So it says, if you've been shamed for being sensitive or anything else, tell yourself, I'm ready to release this shame. I'm a lovable, caring person. Yeah, that's really important. So if you've ever heard affirmations, that is definitely one. I'm ready to release this shame. I'm a lovable, caring person. And it sounds strange to say, but I've noticed that when you set yourself to intentionally say affirmations like once a day, it's like you are bringing it into your awareness that that's something that is an issue. Like you sit down and you have to be consciously aware to say, this is what I'm saying, that's what I'm going to say. And then all of a sudden when you go in your head later and you're just having that verbal mental like overwhelm happening and you catch yourself saying something against that, it's just easier to catch yourself when you say the positive affirmation. And then the more you catch yourself doing it and then you stop, you recorrect what you mean, that's like one of the craziest simplest ways to create like mental shifts or inner talk shifts. And it seems maybe too easy, or maybe to you it seems annoying, but it's actually what I've found to be the most effective way to create change in our mental dialogues with ourselves. And because you guys are so thinky, I think starting to correct that is really going to make a difference, because I can almost see when you get overwhelmed, stressed, or feel like you're being judged, that you would just go in this place where your brains are like going 100 miles an hour. And I don't know if anyone even knows like where your thought originally came from, but all of a sudden you're like really deep. I feel like you can tend to make assumptions around things and then not realize you're making it the ultimate truth for that other person about how they're feeling about you and all that. And I think that's where all of a sudden the clarity of communication comes in, because I think when you do that, you're creating this whole conflict or this whole dialogue within yourself that hasn't even happened. It's only happened in your brain, instead of just communicating, staying curious, staying calm, staying open-minded, that the people around you would never they would never intend to look at you that badly. And I actually think that could be another big thing here around self-love, where if you don't have a lot of self-love for yourself or think that you're good enough, when you're making assumptions about other people and what they think about you, you're going to put your bias into it, where other people probably don't have that bias if they're hanging around you. They're probably so confused why you're hurt with them sometimes, or why you're being like frustrated and a bit angry at them. I think that's what they're saying, where the projection of anger on others could come from, is from these thoughts. And then you deciding that this is what they're mad at you about or hurt of you about. And I mean, sometimes you might be right, but I feel like a lot of times these people are so confused. So that being said, let's move on to let's communicate with clarity card. It says communication with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. If all humans would communicate with impeccability of the word, all of our relationships would change. There would be no wars, no violence, no misunderstandings. That's actually just sadly so true, but it's definitely a huge challenge, right? Because we have to have done a lot of our own work. We have to be very in touch with our own triggers, our own emotions, our own inner child, to know when it is our bias, our egos coming up and putting our beliefs and our insecurities and vulnerabilities on someone else and misinterpreting what they mean, because we just are so sure they meant that we don't ask sometimes the most obvious questions. Okay, say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Ooh, so that's really good. I think this is kind of calling to people who sometimes put extra words in things, or I'm trying to think of an example here. I have a couple in my head where I'm thinking, you ask someone what would they like, and they say, oh, whatever you like. And then you're like, oh, well, I really don't care. I narrowed it down to these two options, so you decide from there. And then they're just like, oh, well, I really don't care. They're both good. That's good. That's good. This and that, and rambling on all these things. And towards the end of the conversation, maybe 20 minutes later, like, yeah, okay, I actually really want the, I don't know, say the pumpkin spice latte instead of the vanilla latte. But they didn't want to take the one they thought the other person would like the most, so they just kept avoiding, they kept side passing the question, but really that other person likes them both. Couldn't decide which one to get. They get them all the time, so they're like, I'll get both, and it's a win-win for me. And then you don't like one, you like the other one, but you're still not saying it. It doesn't have to be about coffees, but if you understand that like example, I think they're saying to try to speak clearer. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. A lot of times people do just actually want to know what that is. And I don't know why as humans we have such a hard time doing that. I guess we feel like people don't actually want us to have what we want. I'm not sure. It's one of those weird things. I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know why we do that. Okay. Take baby steps. Go slowly like the patient turtle. Do not try to rush or force anything. Baby steps are golden. They will lead you to your fondest goals. I think that's just saying, if all this is seeming very overwhelming, it is a lot of work to reconnect with yourself and all that, but no one has to do it in a day or in a week and in a month. If you just start doing it, that's like such a great start. That's just making the tiniest steps to get there is going to make it a lot less intimidating, and then you won't find yourself procrastinating as much. You're just going to be like, okay, I know what I got to do. It's just this one little step. It takes 5 minutes. And then the next step maybe is 10 minutes, or maybe it's even shorter. It's 2 minutes, but you have it just in such actionable way that it's not so overwhelming. Yeah, I think you guys might even need to start looking into new things. Maybe another issue right now is that you guys are just so bored with your lives. I saying starting a new hobby or making more of a specific time to do the thing that you like to do for fun is going to be really important. I think it does also help with productivity when you take the time to be like, okay, I'm going to do this fun thing and then I'm going to do my work. And that's okay, because now I don't have to think about how if I don't finish my work, I won't get to do the fun thing. You're already taking that out of the situation. You're like, I'm going to honor myself and do the fun thing, and hopefully that will allow me to feel creative, expressed, inspired enough to do the work maybe that I'm not so crazy about. Do you want to keep reading this practice humility card? It says, approach life humbly. No one is better than another. Keep your ego in check. Humility is the practice of being simple, valuing simple things. You know, the only thing I see with this one is that sometimes in like Eros's shadow self, this could be a bit where it's coming from, where it's not the true expression, but it's when it's not in its healthy expression, can project anger. I think it also comes a little bit with, can become a bit selfish at times, and it's not the true person. It's just when it's in its unhealthy form. And I think it really does stem from not having its core needs met, which would be, and like you would have to know what those core needs are by connecting with yourself. And because there is a disconnect there, I wouldn't be surprised if sometimes that comes up. Okay, time to crack things open. The felt line. Okay, and let's just read these now. Am I getting enough rest to restore my energy and fully show up to my life? You are the asset. This body is your vehicle. Notice how your body is feeling, how much sleep you are getting, and what you can do to help your body rest. Today's soul action: take a bath, put on some lavender essential oils, go to the bed ridiculously early, or give yourself a timeout today. Notice your body's thanking you. It's so funny. So you guys really should do some Epsom salt baths. I think it's really gonna help. Okay, today's mantra: the more I give myself permission to rest, the more I can contribute. Ooh, I think that's really good because I feel like on a soul level, this is really what makes your soul feel valued and appreciated when it says this: the more I give myself permission to rest, the more I can contribute. And I don't know why, I feel like you guys are just like really helper souls, and I think that could even be why maybe you're so exhausted. And we haven't really talked about that much about what this pile does in their spare time other than being outdoors or their other key personality traits. It's funny because this reading seems really important just around telling you that it's important to go within yourself and take self-care and self-love, and kind of working on the spiritual aspects of that. It doesn't mean that there isn't so many other multitudes to you guys. It's just what is coming up in this card reading. I feel like that's important to say because sometimes you do card readings, you get all these details about these people, but I haven't gotten that many details. I've just seen what you guys want gone and what is no longer serving you. I should say that again. The stuff that is no longer serving you. It's not who you are. Well, everything that I've said isn't saying that this is who you're always going to be. It's saying this is what you're done with. So let's get it out of here. That's kind of, I hope that helps you feel a little bit better about it all. Okay, so this one's saying, are you looking for more guidance, confidence, peace, wisdom, love, or something else? When we search outside ourselves, we can become overwhelmed, frustrated, never feel quite good enough. It's time to go inward to find everything you seek. All the answers you need lie within. Today's action: breathe in your favorite essential oil, inhale deeply into your belly, drop your shoulders, spend some time hanging out with your soul today, ask for what you need, and be ready for the answers. Ooh, I think that card basically summed up this whole reading. You guys didn't catch that. It's basically saying when you look outside yourself for the right thing to do or what's best for you, that's usually how we don't end up doing the thing that's best for us. It's us thinking in our heads, not in our hearts. And I even think that's how we can feel shame or guilt around not having made the right decision according to the people around us. But when you're doing it to self honor, then you can never really have regret because it just feels so right and true for you. And that's really all we can ask of ourselves in this world, is to be true to ourselves. I think that's all I have for you guys. I hope I didn't say anything too harshly. There was definitely some tougher messages there, but things come up when we're so done with them. So that's a really good sign. It's saying that whoever's watching this is like done with this way of being, and I imagine you're already starting to transition out. So do not think you're the horrible people of the world or anything like that. Not at all. It's just saying you guys are so ready to be more authentically and connected to yourselves. More authentically you. You guys are ready to be more authentically you. I keep saying funny things. But you know what I've noticed with a lot of these card readings is that my language and my pronunciation get pretty bad. So I think it's a pretty common problem out there is we all got these really bad communication blocks. All right. That's all I got for you guys. You do you. You have a good one.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed your card readings. I just wanted to take the time to let you know that if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I do have accounts where I just bring you information about the spiritual. It can be anything from more protection ways, energy clearing ways, just some like fun facts around maybe why you wear like a ring on a certain finger and stuff like that. Also, if you're interested in booking a private reading, you can do so through my website, empoweredreadings.com. And yeah, anyways, if not, it'd be just great if you could leave a comment or a like on this video so I know that it's resonating with you guys and that I am helping somebody out there. Anyways, you guys have a good day, and hopefully I catch you around.
Hello, pile 4. You guys chose the smoky quartz point. Let's get into it. Okay, pile 4. There's definitely a message around groundedness and the need for being more grounded. I think that would help with indecisiveness and being more in the moment, more in the now, not having so many worries or fears around making the right choice. Is it, and thinking about the future so much, like what's coming, are you going to be ready for it? There, it's an okay to an acceptable amount, but I think for this group you do it extensively. That's the word I'll use, extensively. Or you could have the opposite end where you might go back in the past, and if you notice that if you're thinking about something that hurts you or something that you're emotional about and you say it once in your head and then you circle back and you just say the same thing again, like you literally repeat yourself, it's another sign that you're just kind of getting pulled into a cycle and you're not actually releasing the emotion. You're just, I guess I don't know if you've ever heard of the words where sometimes people get stuck in the story versus taking back their power and owning it and releasing it. I feel like it's a bit of that. I mean, we all do these things occasionally. I just think that sometimes you guys might not have awareness that it's a cycle you're getting stuck in. So it says, this is not your practice life. It's time to decide, what is your inner voice telling you about the dream in your heart? And then breathe. This moment matters the most. How can you focus on the moment that appreciates all that is well? I think that's both just really well put for those cards. You see kind of a need for self-love and reconnection with your, I don't actually think it's with your intuition here. I actually think it's reconnection with your inner child and your heart. Like, what does your heart actually want? And how we can sometimes ask that is by trying to drop our energy from our heads and into our heart and putting our hands on our heart and just feeling and asking whatever it is we're struggling to decide, like, what is the most honoring thing I can do for myself today, or what choice is in my highest good in love and light, or what does my heart want me to do, is actually probably the simplest way to say all that. And just be okay with whatever answer it gives you. Yeah, and then I think the bit of the other block is that you're not sure if you can trust that. And that's fair. That's very fair fear. But the only way you're going to build that trust is by giving it the opportunity to give you the answer and then trusting it and seeing what happens. May be very scary because I think this group likes to feel a little bit in control. That might even be where the thinking ahead comes from. I also think it comes from anxiety and worrying. I think you probably worry for everyone around you and for yourself and for your future and for other people's futures. I see a lot of worrying. But just on that note around being scared you're going to make the wrong choice or what's going to be best, I did get right sidetracked into this card here where it says, let go of self judgment and blame. Being impeccable, you take responsibility for your actions, but you do not judge or blame yourself for anything. That's a really good way to put it. It's good to be accountable, but if something didn't work out, like, you're just human. It's okay. There's going to be another experience where you can make up for it, or I shouldn't even use the words make up, where you get to do it again and have the experience and the knowledge on what to do that time. But worrying about it and not deciding isn't getting you where you want to be. Probably making you guys feel pretty stuck. So just to help with that kind of like need to control being in the future energy, I have noticed that they'll say gratitude journals are really great for that, because instead of thinking about what you want to change about the future, what you want to change about now, what isn't working all the time, worrying about things, how can you control a different outcome? What are all the circumstances that things would go wrong that you can think about? They're saying if you just focus on gratitude, that will keep your mind busy and you can see about all the things that are going good. And I also think if you have goals you want to achieve, to do those sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm like, what have I said in this reading that I didn't say in the other ones? I have told everyone, every single pile, to do full moon rituals, because you're going to release writing, which everyone in all these card decks have needed. I do gratitude journals, which your reading is saying yes to. It does have a moon in it. It is saying yes. And then the next step after that is writing down your goals and writing down the smallest actionable steps in order that you can take to start getting yourself there. And I think with your need for worrying and being in control, I think doing the gratitude list first is going to be better. And then it's going to have you in a more calm state. And then write actionable steps for you to do the things you want to do, because even by writing those actionable steps, if you take them, that is making you make a choice. And I think that's where you've had issues, is deciding if that is right or not. It's going to make you have to commit to the larger thing that you want and start going for it. And sorry, I want to look at this. Do I know all my strengths and am I using them? We all have superpowers, but it's up to us to uncover them. We will live and lead with our strengths. We are able to show up in our zone of genius. This inspires others to do the same. Today's soul action: ask yourself, how can I use one of my soul's gifts today to contribute to this open and ready world? I think this goes a little bit to I think you guys can be a little bit harsh on yourselves, and I don't know if you, I think, now bear with me, this might not be for everyone, but I almost feel like some of you have said, oh, I'm not special. I don't have any secret gifts. I don't have anything that I'm really good at. And I think this card's like, that's a lie. That's a lie. You are good at something, but because you're good at it and it's so easy for you, and it could even be like a skill, like even just talking to people, that because you have it, you don't realize it's a skill until you don't have it. And what a game changer that makes. Yeah, definitely have some inner child wounding to explore, releasing kind of I see it as very old, stuck emotions and belief systems so that you can ascend higher. Everything here is saying, I think you guys are going to really become very conscious people, very like I feel like if you've ever gone in a bookstore and been like, who actually reads these self development books? I think that's going to be you if it's not you already. Like, really think you guys are on that journey. And I know this makes some people uncomfortable, but when I saw this sexual energy is sacred, my pleasure and prayer to that brings me back to life. There is a couple meanings here. It's about finding passion in your life again, like that divine thing that inspires you, that makes you just feel so fueled with spark and energy in your very core that you're just so excited to get out and do it, to work on that activity. And then I also think for some of you, I think it is actually just about your confidence in your sexuality, and I think some of you might be a bit shy. I do think there is a bit of a limiting belief around being, I keep want to say special, about being like a beautiful, worthy, worth it person. Like you have value, and I think that there's definitely some block there. So I think tuning into that and realizing that you are literally deserving of all pleasures of life, from just being passionate about your life to even it being a sexual human being, you deserve all of it. I feel that you guys are very uncomfortable with me saying that, so I'll just leave it there. But it is saying it's not something to be afraid of. Like, it's your divine right as being a human to experience all the goodness of life. Okay, so this one, oh, I guess I want to read this honor your inner child card first. So it says, focus on your inner child's needs. Is your inner child afraid or is in need of more playtime? Cherish the precious being within you. So this definitely does go back to, I think, these two cards here where they're saying, finding your passion and your joy again usually starts with us reconnecting with our inner child, because that's like our playful, creative, happy, joyful self. But if we don't acknowledge it, you can imagine how any kid would feel. Like it's been ignored, it's been like locked up in the corner, and because it's ourselves, we don't seem to give it the same empathy that we would to any other child we would see in those conditions. So try to look at it that way. Like, you would never leave another child in that state. So why leave your inner child in that state? And once you reconnect with it and you hold compassion and nurturing for it, and I know it might sound strange, but our inner child usually is a source of most of our fears. So if you have a fear of failure, you have to listen to that inner child and be able to hold space about why is she or he afraid of not succeeding, or of not being good enough, or not being loved. And it's probably one of our greatest challenges as humans, is to be able to sit there, be uncomfortable, even just with our own selves, hold space, acknowledge it, and then that way you can heal. And slowly over time, it starts to go away. The inner child starts to react less. It's like a healthier child. It's not always on the edge in survival mode. It's a kid who's more or less happy to be playing and having fun and enjoying the beauty of life. I hope that's a good analogy. I feel like I can see it in my head pretty good, but I hope I communicated it clearly. It's also gonna, yeah, just help you be more in in connection, I think, with your overall emotions too, and understand why you sometimes have extreme fears or indecisiveness. I think it really is coming from the inner child and its limiting beliefs. So quiet your mind. Overthinking a problem is not the key to any door. Take a few breaths to still your inner chatter. Let yourself just be for a while. So that actually goes well with the inner child card. When you're taking time to be quiet and just see what comes up, usually emotions from our intuition, from our body, from our inner child will come up, and it's a really good way to hear it. And this is saying that in order for you to hear these things, you have to be feeling grounded in your body. uh, so that would be take 4 deep breaths. It does say breathe card here, so I do think that will be powerful enough for you guys to start feeling more grounded. Otherwise, you also did choose the smoky quartz point. Funny enough, as soon as I saw this, I was like, this pile is going to have an issue with being grounded. You could get one of these. Actually, and correct that if you're open to it. I think you should get one of these, and when you're sleeping, it has to be a point for this. What you're going to do is put it at the end of your bed facing away from you, so your feet will be here, that will be that way. And what it does is it will clear all the extra anxiety and overthinking as you're sleeping. You do have to clear these though. So these ones, I believe, they say you can clear them as long as you're using the intent of removing any of the energies it's cleared from you, any negative energies, attachments, limiting beliefs, anything like that from the crystal, and run it underwater, or you can just sage it. I know some people do sound clearing, but I could be biased. I just find when there's a lot of stuff being cleared, I feel like sound doesn't always feel like it clears enough for me, but that right there is 100% my biased opinion. That's just because that doesn't work for me, but I do know quite a few practitioners who actually only ever clear with sound, and so it works for them. It just that didn't work for me personally. We're all different, so any of those things work for you, I would do that. And I just, yeah, I think it could help with definitely help with the overthinking. And I think if you guys have a hard time sleeping, at first, I don't think it will make a huge difference, but over time, I think you're going to realize, like, oh, wow, I can't remember last time I was really less restless at night. That's really good. When negative thoughts arise, experience the feelings behind them and then shift to a larger, more compassionate perspective. So that speaks to holding space for yourself, letting it be heard and felt, and then releasing it and seeing why that was a block for you. I think it's actually asking you, like, when you see that you have this limiting belief around being worthy or around being failing, not whatever it is, to go back and find that moment in your life where you first felt that. And from there, I think you're really going to start being able to really release it, really get it out of your system. It doesn't mean that when things get really hard, it won't ever come back up, but the weight of it won't be so consistently on you. Okay, honor yourself. I can't remember if I read this card. Honor the man or woman that you are. Take the risk to express your dream. Taking action is about living fully and expressing what you are. Yeah, a lot of cards around taking action, making decisions, not being afraid of regretting them. Very common theme. Always easier said than done, though. Don't worry, I know that. Yeah, and then maybe a good like journaling reflection question for you guys is just asking, how can you trust yourself more? Like, what do you need? Like, I don't have all the answers for you. You're all your own individuals. Maybe just reflecting and seeing what your soul wants, what your inner self wants to feel like it can trust yourself more is like a really great place to start, because then that might help you feel more calm and comfortable with taking some of these steps to start trusting and honoring what that inner child wants. And yeah, I do also think there could be a bit of block around fully accepting that people love you. That's kind of a random one. It might not be for everyone. It feels a bit specific. I feel like there's someone in this file who I think has a really nurturing, healthy, secure attachment style partner. But I think you guys might be more of the anxious, avoidant attachment style, and you don't ever trust them when they're saying they love you. They believe that you're just like the greatest thing ever. I feel like you keep thinking, it can't be true. That like that's just he's just saying everything I want to hear, or she's just saying everything I want to hear. And I really do think this isn't going to be a message for everyone because it's coming out at the end, but there's that message is for someone. It's saying that it's it's your insecurities or your belief that is not true about you being worthy of such a great person that's not allowing you to see that. Yeah, random message. Okay. Anyways, I think that's all I have for you guys.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed your card readings. I just wanted to take the time to let you know that if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I do have accounts where I just bring you information about the spiritual. It can be anything from more protection ways, energy clearing ways, just some like fun facts around maybe why you wear like a ring on a certain finger and stuff like that. Also, if you're interested in booking a private reading, you can do so through my website, empoweredreadings.com. And yeah, anyways, if not, it'd be just great if you could leave a comment or a like on this video so I know that it's resonating with you guys and that I am helping somebody out there. Anyways, you guys have a good day, and hopefully I catch you around.